How long have you been in Bitcoin for?
Well, just when COVID first started, like a lot of people, I just said, I'm going to get myself some Bitcoin. And obviously, things went pretty well over the lockdowns, after it all settled in,
Yeah.
But, this is the thing. This is my whole problem with the amount I had was I would give my eye teeth to have it now, but my knowledge of Bitcoin wasn't good enough really.
Yeah.
Because when the push came to the shove, with all the lockdowns and my business being closed, I had to sell those in order to keep my business open. Now, and obviously hindsight, is an amazing thing, but I wouldn't have done that now. I would have closed my business down for that period of time and then reopened when I had the chance, because it's. But I took on the responsibility of looking after my staff, because some of my staff members were not permanent residents yet, from the UK.
Yeah.
And, I couldn't bring myself to turn around to that person and go, right, well, you just have to go home,
Yeah, that's
and
good.
so I was doing the right thing, and, but, what ensued after that there was, I'll tell you what, I think it was April of 2020, there was the cruise ship that was in Japan.
Yeah.
And they tested those people for 8 weeks. Now, there was 2,700 people on that cruise ship, and basically they tested them twice a day for 8 weeks. The average age was about 75, with 2,700 odd people on there. That space was more dense, 42 times more densely populated than the most densely populated place on earth, which is Hong Kong, okay?
Wow.
And I think 7 people died. And at that moment I went, well, it's the ultimate petri dish. Everybody's going to start, because I was like the same as everybody else. I was a wee bit like, right, this is serious, blah, blah, blah. And then I was waiting for like a grown-up to start, to turn around and go, right, okay, it's not as bad as we thought, But no, nothing happened.
It just got worse.
And then people got more and more mental. And then I started, being very vocal, on the social media and all that there. And I had people calling me up, you're going to ruin your business, and what will the police think, and all this carry on. There was even a Facebook feed. My friendly, neighbours, not neighbours, but there were other businesses, and there was a whole feed that came out where they're complaining about this hairdresser that was on the high street and what we're going to do to him. And then the feed was like, piss in his door, smash his windows,
Jesus.
All this stuff, And you think to yourself, these people are actually insane. And because I come from Northern Ireland, I have seen what division is. Yeah. I really have, and I'd seen that movie before, and you can just see people becoming more and more sort of authoritarian.
Yeah.
And but to be honest with you, it proved to me that things like Instagram and all that there in my business don't matter, because I'm busier than I've ever been.
Yeah.
And people naturally, I think, gravitate to people who are a little bit more not honest, but not frightened to stand up.
Integrity.
Yeah. And but I'll never forgive them for that, because I'll never forgive the government, because everybody does this one, they point at the neighbour, point that way. Instead of pointing up, we've got to point up at these people, because they're animals, absolute animals, And so, as time went on, my life savings went further and further down, and it wasn't, I turned 50 at the start of it all, and I don't know, 49 even. And, you know, had played the game properly, put money away, and was playing with the system. And after what happened to me, I said, no way, never again. And I educated myself on the Bitcoin and said, right, well, this is it. That's going to be my savings vehicle, and hopefully it will help me get to be back to where I was, you know, before all that crap happened, you know?
Yeah. When you're selling that Bitcoin, so you bought the Bitcoin and then you sold it to be able to keep this place open,
yes,
and look after your staff, did you sell it at a profit or a loss?
At the time, it was at a profit.
Yeah.
You know, so that was good. I mean, that was good, but...
Well, it worked as intended, really,
It worked as intended, but still, at this stage of, you know, I would rather have them.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing about it is that, you know, you're over those, you're basically shut down for 2 years, right? Even worse than that, we were told at the start that hairdressing was essential.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, right, because I was in a location on High Street, and I said, right, okay, I'm going to go into this new location around the corner, which is here. You know, my business is going to be, you know, hairdressing seems to be that's going to be okay. Dropped a load of money in here, getting this right, you know, and then opened one day, and old desperate Dan said, "You're locked, hairdressers no more."
Wow.
So this was, you know, you couldn't even plan correctly, you know. It was just the nightmare.
Yeah. One of the craziest things, especially here in Australia, is they kept saying 2 weeks, 2 weeks. Just 2 more weeks, or we need to get to this many people need to take the poison, I mean the jab.
Yeah.
And then we'll reopen, you know, we'll have herd immunity, and it just kept dragging on. And then, like we were talking earlier before we started recording, I didn't really experience any lockdowns whatsoever, but Melbourne was insane. What was that like?
Well, it was, number one, not only did we have the lockdowns, we had the curfews. So the curfews, and then the ring of steel, and you know these catchphrases came out every day, you know, plus followed by the death toll figures, you know, 82-year-old, 84-year-old. They got to the ridiculous stage where Daniel Andrews one day he was reading out and he says, "Oh, I have one more." 108-year-old man, and it's like he started talking, and then he started talking to you like children. And when he started talking about the supercomputer, that's what, if you look back, he would turn around and say, "Well, you can't argue with the data, and the supercomputer doesn't lie."
Yeah,
you know, we just can't do it.
They always come back to the science, don't they? And we're talking a little bit, we won't go too much. My wife's a researcher, very high level researcher, and does proper research, and it's backed up by the data.
Yes.
But I think through mainstream media, TV, propaganda, PR firms, they keep referring back to their science where they're manipulating these numbers, and we believe in numbers so much, like being in Bitcoin, 21 million, it's all backed by math, don't trust, verify, you can see it all there yourself. So we're already predisposed to see scientific data as closer to the truth, but these people come out and they distort in such a way to be able to fit their narrative. Like, we didn't have any flu deaths. They were all C19.
Well, that's
like it just went away. The common cold just went away. Same amount of people died each year that die from the common cold. It's just I keep going back to the word psyop, but it was just a trickery of everyone, tomfoolery.
Well, 100%. I mean, look, but here's the other thing: they don't, you know. They're not interested in the data post the... Yeah,
they just ignore it all.
You know what I mean? It's you know, there's, what was it, 32,000 in 2030, or 2023. That's 500 people a week. That's like a jumbo jet going down a week. Excess deaths.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So, and that data's there, black and white, but they're not interested.
Yeah.
So, you know, but yet they were calling out every single day. You know, some 108-year-old guy dying on the toilet or something. God bless him. And his life should have been celebrated, not.
Absolutely.
You know, it was disgusting.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it just kept going and going and going, and then it got to the stage where if you get your job, you're allowed to go out.
Yeah.
You know, I get your papers, please. That was the other big one. You know, these people, I don't know how they can live with themselves or be able to forgive themselves. Like, and there has to be a process for that, because there's a lot of people who aren't dealing with that right now because they haven't confronted the fact of what they turned into.
Yeah.
You know, like standing checking people's papers before they go into a pub. You know, and we got, because you didn't get the vaccine, you got another 6 months of that.
Yeah.
You know, I'll never forget Andrews being on television and going, and if you think you're going to wait us out, you got another thing coming. And that's when I turned around and said, I'm definitely waiting you out. You know, it was just like, but it was, you know, it was awful. You know, papers, please. And then when it, you know, and then when that it came out in the EU with the Pfizer exec turning around and being asked, you know, did you test for contraction? You know, did it stop infection? Oh no, we didn't test for that. We're going at the speed of science. You know, and then that made the vaccine passports completely null and void. Yeah. You know, so, and look, it was a horrible time, but, you know, and I had a client in this morning, and he actually turned around to me and he said, Stephen, you've lifted yourself so much, you know, personality-wise. You know, while that was all going down, you were very, very down. And obviously I've been talking to him about Bitcoin. And as I said to him, I said, you know, we end up going down this cul-de-sac, a conversational cul-de-sac where we know what these people are doing, and we know how bad the media is, how bad the governments are, and we get to that cul-de-sac of, oh well, what can you do? Yeah. But we'll have something now. We'll have the Bitcoin. Yeah, now we'll have it. And it's like, it's so good, and it's good for my soul. You know what I mean? And it's not to be vindictive or to be anything like that there, but just to know that, you know, that the truth does always come out. You know, and in our case, it's probably going to come out in mathematics. You know. Yeah. And it'll be backed by real science, real data. With that, like, I find Bitcoin, it makes me extremely positive, optimistic, hopeful. Without it, like, I'd be scared. So the world would be so dark, so nihilistic. And I guess it's why I'm on this journey with the channel, just to share it as much as possible with everyone, because there is no other option. Like, Bitcoin is that life raft. And if anyone knows anything, like, let me know. But since 2019, I haven't found a reason why Bitcoin won't solve the problems on an individual level, and then on a business level here, and then on a local government and government level. Like, I think and truly believe it can fix every area of our life, but people just need to understand. I think they're seeing the problem. They just don't know Bitcoin's the solution. When you are talking to people about Bitcoin, because it's pretty hard not to, with people, how do you describe it to them? Well, there's, Mr. Sailor, you know, it's so hard not to use his analogies, you know. And I find that the things that are most responsive for, you know, when you're talking to people is, you know, using those analogies, you know. It's been pretty good recently being able to turn around and say to them, you know, look, the dollar's melting, you know, your house, you know, say it was $1 million house, you know, it was 100 Bitcoin, you know, 5 years ago or whatever, but now it's 10. Yeah. But then in another 5 years, it's going to be 1. And after that, it's 0.1. And explaining to them that it doesn't care, that it's just repricing everything in front of your eyes. And little things like that get people thinking, because they can visualize it almost in their head. You know, that's why Sailor's so good. Yeah. You know, he's the guy who really got me, you know, I sat down, I'd seen him early on, and I thought, he's a smart guy. He's a rocket scientist. You know, and it was the talking, the fact that he's, you know, NMIT, first principles thinking, and then with the analogies,
Yeah.
And the one I direct people to a lot is the Tucker conversation he had with Michael Saylor.
I do not know if I've seen that. I feel FOMO. Like, I need to watch that.
It's brilliant because the Tucker.
Tucker's a great interviewer.
He's a good interviewer, but he also is a little bit like. He's sort of like, he's got that sort of boomer mentality,
Yeah.
And he asked all the questions that your granny would ask,
Cool.
which gave Saylor the opportunity to really explain.
Yeah.
And I've never heard Tucker Carlson talk so little. I mean, there's a 55-minute monologue from Saylor in it, and it's just epic. He goes through the whole history of time, the Yapstone, the whole lot, know, and. That's inspiring when you see someone like him doing it, and yourself. I mean, to be honest with you, seeing you having that dedication, and it's all coming from a real positive place, Sean. And that is, that's inspiring as well. To see that, and you're good at communicating how much it's changed your life.
Yeah.
And it looks great as well because you're up on that beach up in Queensland there. Looking like you're living a healthy life, and it's great.
Yeah.
So and then I think that's the best way to tell people about it, through analogy and something that's verbally sort of a visual thing that they can sort of,
Yeah, aside from that, something that you alluded to that I'd like to dive into, you had a lot of your life savings wiped out and you had to start again. Was that just through COVID? But what was that journey? And I guess how's Bitcoin playing into that now? Are you dollar cost averaging daily, weekly, once a month?
Well, every week. As soon as I sold the Bitcoin, I set it up through you're not fond of them, but I set it up through Coinbase, so it was easy for me to set up. A set amount of money to go in every week. And then now, it goes into the cold storage wallet once I get to a certain amount.
Yeah.
But that was instantly, I did that because I knew that, I knew about dollar cost averaging, and I had watched enough to know that, trying to chase it, is just stupid,
Drive you insane.
And then, and to go from, and I remember I've heard you say it, messing around with those other coins as well. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster. So
they're fundamentally designed to take your Bitcoin.
Yeah, and then you understand. And then when you look, over time, and you see what returns Bitcoin has given you, what the hell are you thinking of?
Yeah.
Why would you bother? So, but the whole thing amalgamated with me having to set my bed up in the back room here and tough it out.
Wow.
And a substantial amount of money had already went out. If anything had happened again, I just would have had to shut up the shops. But I was managed to be able to get through it, thanks to Bitcoin as well. Yeah. It certainly wasn't thanks to the government, because I have put myself, I'm probably a bit like yourself, Sean, I've put myself in all sorts of situations in my life, put my life at danger of just a nightmare. But I've never been so terrified by the government, and how powerful that is, and I'd never come up against it in that way before, where, hold on a second, you're taking from me here. And then you realise that they're taking from you all the time, so that's why, doing your own saving and doing it in a vehicle which is, all right, giving you good returns and all that there, but you're in control of it.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So,
Which can be a little bit scary, to be your own bank. Like Barack Obama literally calls Bitcoin like having a Swiss bank account in your pocket. And I showed my wife that article, and she's like, how's that a bad thing? Doesn't everyone want a Swiss bank account? She's like, is he positive for Bitcoin? I'm like, he's definitely not.
Yeah.
But she's like, that reads pretty positive. I like this idea. I want a Swiss bank account. Let's buy more Bitcoin. I'm like, okay, darling, let's buy more Bitcoin. but it can also be a little bit scary, I guess, as well, because there's no one you can call. Like that person on today's video, $69.3 million he sent to the wrong address because he didn't check it. Not getting that money back.
No.
Like ever. There's nobody you can call. There's no refund. There's no returns. There's no return transaction. Like once it's done, it's done. So that journey can be a little bit hard. But yourself, your mid-50s, how was that going?
Early 50s.
Early 50s, my apologies. With that journey of buying it on Coinbase, like the biggest shitcoin exchange there is, well done. It should be Bitcoin only. But whatever's the easiest way to get Bitcoin. I don't really care how people get it. They do need to hold in cold storage. Learning about cold storage for yourself, because there's nothing like it. You've probably never done anything like that in your life. How was that?
Well, that's also a wee bit nerve-wracking, because you're sitting there with, I did the right thing. I got my, my steel, I'm on one you said it shouldn't be on.
Don't use Ledger.
That's it. Of course I'm on Ledger, but, obviously I'm about to give your guys a call.
Yeah, cool.
The Bitcoin way. Is it the Bitcoin way?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to give them a call anyway.
Shout out, we're all an ad.
But it's true I am, because every time you say that, it sends a shiver down the spine. But at the same time, it was pretty much it was pretty common sense. There is that wee bit of, you're waiting for it to come through, and you go, oh Jesus.
That's the worst.
Yeah. Once I'm interested in finding out about the node. Yeah. That sounds like the way forward. You know what I mean? But I haven't. I'll pick your brains about that later on.
It's super easy, and it's worth building one yourself, just to go through and. They're just a Raspberry Pi, and you just order a couple of things, screw it together, download the software,
right,
flash it on there, and like anyone can do it. And shout out to BTC Sessions on YouTube. He's got some great tutorials for anyone watching.
Okay, I'll check that out.
You can go through and watch it that way, or the Bitcoin way can step you through the process. Mm-hmm. But once you do that, like at the moment using Ledger, for example, call them, get them off with that. But regardless, like it's on steel, the device, just the device. They have just leached. They keep having data breaches and put all your details out there. Years and years ago, I used Ledger as well. Never again. At least it's not on the exchange. But once you run your own node, you literally become your own Swiss bank.
Yep.
And there's no government institution, entity, corporation. Ledger can't get in the way of stopping you. Somebody can't find out that you have a Ledger, and obviously all your details are associated with your Ledger purchase, depending on where you got it from, when you got it, and the hacks. I'm sure they'll have another one. They keep happening. So it's pretty easy for the government to look at that database. Oh, Stephen's on Ledger. You need to stop this. You can just get in the way, or you get phishing. But if you're running your own node, whatever hardware wallet you're using, nobody's getting in the way. And with your Ledger as well, you can run that through Sparrow Wallet in the meantime.
Right. Okay.
Probably talk to Tony or the guys.
Yes, I will. I definitely will do that. I definitely will.
One of the other things, just like I find, because when I send especially large amounts of Bitcoin from cold storage to deeper cold storage, that feeling of waiting for it to settle, and you're like, oh shit, especially when the network's so congested. And like, I've been there for 55 minutes waiting for it to show up, and you're like that's an hour of torment. On Sparrow Wallet, it's pending, like it's unconfirmed, but you see it as soon as it hits the mempool. So like you know straight away that you've sent it to the right wallet. You can't do anything with it. It still says pending.
Yes.
But at least you know pretty much instantly that you've sent it to the right place, which is better, built by Bitcoiners as well.
But you said definitely, check your, go over and check the complete address.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what we saw today.
That's a nightmare.
Isn't that like scary? Because like in the past, if I'm using small amounts, I'll just check the first 6 digits, last 6 digits, and you're like, oh, pretty sweet. And like at the start, I was so paranoid, going through like really slow, writing it down, capital letter, little like lowercase letter, checking it, burning that piece of paper afterwards, sending a little bit more, sending the final amount. And even if they're settling within 10 minutes, it'd still take 1 or 2 hours to do it. And then I got a bit quicker and I get lazy and then just check the last 6 digits. But now again, I don't move it as often.
No.
And I wait for a sizable amount to build up on the exchange before I send it off. I don't know if that's the best practice, or be happy to lose whatever's on the exchange. Like it's time versus efficiency, and that may make up 1% of my stack at each time, so it's not really an issue. But
sorry to interrupt.
Go for it.
Will the network itself make all that sort of stuff more secure and easier to use eventually?
Oh yeah, like every day developers are working on it. I think like the hardware wallets and stuff that we have now, like even Jack Dorsey, what he came out with, that little the tap signer, I think, and sort of like, I guess you'd call it like a warm wallet, like it's sort of a cross between a hot and a cold wallet, and then you're just using that signing device which got biometric ID or fingerprint ID on it to sign those transactions. I think that's a pretty good step in the right direction. Foundation devices are pretty easy, pretty simple to use.
And then I noticed that MicroStrategy have come out with that ID thing as well there, where you have it's built on Bitcoin, that it's got your check for everything.
I haven't.
He did a press conference there where they announced it, and it's sort of, instead of having like your check mark for all your social medias, it's you've got one unverified that seemed like it was a good idea. I don't know how the hell you'd implement it, but
yeah, I'm not sure, but I guess like with Google now we have like single signature sign-on, where you can sign into like any Google service, Amazon, Excel, or whatever, all with your Google account, and you're verified over all of those. It'll just be you've linked somehow that you're a human, I guess, to your Bitcoin digital wallet, and then you're using that one ID everywhere, and you'll probably be able to remain pseudonymous as well. I guess it's just verifying your proof of human, or you could go to a different level. But 100% the space, like we're only 15 years old. I think it was yesterday we just hit a billion transactions, which MasterCard took 25 years. So we're accelerating rapidly, but Bitcoin's very slow to change. You see a lot of those arguments on Twitter, privacy versus no privacy, or ossification, not changing the network in any regard. Like, changes do need to happen, but the people running the nodes are the ones that need to decide whether they're going to implement those changes. So I think like on the base layer itself, we'll get smaller changes. I don't think anything dramatic, but what's built around it will become easier. Like we're talking about accepting either fiat or Bitcoin and the customer not knowing the difference. Well, that's happening in New Zealand with Lightning Pay.
Hopefully we'll get that soon.
Yeah.
That'll be a massive breakthrough, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And nobody's not wanting to pay taxes. Nobody's not wanting to not pay taxes. Well, some people are, but at the same time, it's just that they're going to use that as an excuse.
Yeah, of course.
They try and use it. The idea. I laughed when, after. Well, I didn't laugh. Well, I wasn't laughing after October 7th. I wasn't laughing at all. But the fact that what do you call them again? Hamas came out on Twitter, of all things, and said, "Don't send us Bitcoin, send us cash."
Yeah.
I mean, what a advertisement for exposing that rubbish that they're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's. But I think it's all going to get. That's going to get a lot easier, and protecting your Bitcoin's going to be easier. It has, because it's a wee bit, as you said, it's you're biting your nails, and then but then again, for some people, just being able to have, like, some people just put it on the bloody store, on the have it on the exchange all the time, but because I've been I saw it happen with FTX and all those things. And you just wouldn't do that now, Although he's laughing, he's going, "You're on Ledger, so you might as well be on the same thing." You were saying about the tax there, and I always look at tax as like a membership fee, but I don't want to be, getting extorted for a membership fee. You know what I mean? That's the way you got to look at paying your taxes. That you're paying the membership for the club that you're staying in, and in actual fact, the club that we're in is pretty good. Compared to. I mean, I came from Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at kids out. But you were up at Bright there. Did you go up to Bright?
Yeah, we sure did. Yeah.
And I shouldn't mention that. But you look out there, and there's I'll never forget. I was sitting there one day, and they've got there's like a communal park there, and there was these children running around, and there's actual natural water features there where it's like a bit of a water world in the middle of the town. And I was thinking, in Belfast, if I'd have had that, and these kids do not realise how lucky they are. You really see those things and you really appreciate it, and and that makes the membership worthwhile.
And even taxes, like they're up front, the highest tax bracket, 37%. And then all the other taxes that come along, it's those ones that are the real issue that they don't tell you about when they debase the money and the inflation, like the biggest hidden tax. If there's just a tax and the money was sound, like, so be it, you could get ahead within their fiat system. But just going to school, going to university, getting a real job, working for 20 years, saving, putting the money in the bank, living off the interest, like, that doesn't exist anymore for anyone.
No.
Like, Australia uses real estate as an investment vehicle, and it's insane. Like, that 462 square metre house, 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom, $8 million, 7.9 something million dollars.
Doesn't make sense.
And you're like that's absolutely crazy. If we had sound money, house price would be nowhere near where they are. They wouldn't be used as a savings tool. I think we're probably a while away before hyper-Bitcoinization. People understandably wake up to the fact that, hey, we don't need to use real estate. We can get rid of the 4 or 5 properties we use, and we can just buy Bitcoin, and that puts downward price pressure, deflation on everything. But I think that's going to be a little bit of a journey for us to get there. But I don't know, COVID was a good wake-up call, I guess. For
well, it won't be too long when people turn around and go, hold on a second, my house is only worth 1 Bitcoin now. How is that? And that's when you'll start to see, as you say, people going, hold on a second, maybe I don't need to pay the land tax and the upkeep on all these places, and I can just have a Bitcoin instead. Because obviously we're looking for our citadel. We're looking to keep our house at the beach and buy another place, and then spend summer away somewhere a bit cooler, and then go back to where we live in summer. But we live in a Western Red Cedar house, absolutely beautiful, but you need to basically varnish it every 3 years, the outside 2-bedroom house. Like, it's huge. We live on the side of a hill, so the scaffolding that I need to get needs to have wheels. Like, at the front, the wheels will wind out this high, and the back wheels are flat on the ground, so that the platform's fairly
stable, and I winded up the side, screw a boat winch to the retaining wall, and then like wind this thing up, and it goes up slowly, and you come down, do a coat, do it again. I'm like, no, stuff that.
Yeah.
And like we easily could. We could just keep the 2 properties and potentially end up with a little bit of a mortgage on the second one, but we're better off just to totally have no mortgage, buy more Bitcoin. And then later on, if we want to move or we've had enough, we can either Airbnb, we can rent somewhere for the winter, sort of like what we do now as we get away. And somebody else can have that house.
Yeah, and there's also other options now. Like, I mean, what was interesting, I heard that, old El Salvador, God bless him, he's changed the holiday visa from 90 days to 180 days. Well, there's half a year.
Yeah.
You could buy a property there. And I think it's pretty similar in Italy and all those places. They're just, as their population is decreasing, they're dying for more people to come in,
Yeah.
So there's plenty of options out there for a global currency that you can take wherever you want, and being able to, add to a society that's, anywhere in the world, really.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole idea of it, is it not? That you can go and live in Italy.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking at Italy there, the houses down in the south of Italy, absolutely beautiful. And not expensive, like 300,000, 200,000.
Wow.
And then you look at that, I think there was a guy posted on X about the 2-bedroom dog box that he was in. You were talking about this morning. And I mean, when you look at that, you look for that money, 1.2 mil, you go, the world's gone crazy,
Yeah, totally.
So, Sean, I'm just going to put some of this product in your hair here. So, I'm going to tell you about this air spray here. So, I go to Lake Eyre in South Australia.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the world's biggest salt plains, and that's where we get the salt for the salt spray. So that's why we called it air spray, spelled after the name Lake Eyre.
Yeah, wow.
But it's very, very light, and it doesn't go crispy or anything, you know what I mean? So, you've had plenty of salt in your hair, but this smells nice and is good. So I'll put that in, and then you can just put this in your hair.
It actually tastes all right.
That's because it's got real salt in it.
Yeah.
But it's that's good fun going and doing that. When
do you just scrape it and put it into buckets?
Yeah, look, this is because we are living in the woke central here in Northcote. People would turn around to me and say, "What do the Aboriginal people feel about that?" And I turn around and I say, "Well, the dream serpent spoke to me in a dream down there."
Yeah.
I said, the dream serpent just isn't for Aboriginal people.
That's right.
So, but to say that there, I mean, the place is, it must have a billion tons of salt there, and you just take a slab of it off, break it up and put it into the container, and then deliver it to the guy in New South Wales who formulates the stuff for me. But, I couldn't believe that person just asking that, And I understand it, but at the same time, it's not like you're, taking the food out of someone's mouth.
Yeah, I have these type of conversations quite a lot. Like, I think as a human being, we belong on the planet and we belong outside. And saying that because you're white or a person of colour, you can or you can't do this thing. Like, that's freaking madness.
That's crazy.
Like, it's one world, we all bleed blood.
Yep.
Fairly white in the sun, like I change colour.
Yeah.
But it's just on the outside. Like, we're all cut from the same cloth. And to be able to go
really
there,
dangerous stuff here, Sean, I mean, that's exactly the ridiculousness of that.
Isn't it? It's the wokeness, we were talking about it before, it's to create division between me and you or myself and somebody else. That doesn't actually exist in real life. It's just a distraction from whatever the governments or the powers that be doing to keep us preoccupied, while they debase the money or they plunge and plunder our global resources, like the amount of state forests that they've sold off for like $1 an acre, or all our ports, our shipping ports, our airports and stuff, sold overseas cheap as a lot of our mines as well. All these assets that belong to Australia and Australians, regardless of your colour, they sell those to multinational corporations. Then Australia no longer becomes Australia, and then we're so busy, whether it's Christianity versus Islam or black versus white, like none of that's real, none of that exists.
No.
So, like yesterday, I was walking along and I was buying another lighter to have a cigar before I went to bed, and there's this young guy wearing a hoodie over his face and a white hoodie and stuff, scarf around his face, like this, and all I could see was his eyes. And dark alley, dark street, and different demographic to me. And I said, "Hey, bro, you got a lighter?" He's like, "Yeah, man. Yep. Yeah. Here you go." And I was like, "How you doing?" He's like, "Good." He's like, "You can keep it." I'm like, "No, I'm all good." He's like, bruv, it's all good. You keep the lighter. I've got another lighter at home, bruv. Yeah. I'm like, "Thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. I'm going to go buy another one like I needed to."
Yeah.
And there was no animosity or anything. Whereas if I'd bought that media BS, I'd be like, I need to stay away from this guy. He's wearing a face covering. He's dangerous. We're in a dark alley. Like, no, you just approach people with respect, talk nicely, and people are in
like
general.
A mirror. You smile at it, smile back. You know, and you might get unlucky, but that's not a reflection on society. That's a reflection on somebody being mental.
Yeah, that's
it. And it's few and far between.
Like less than 1%, and I guess that's what's so wrong with the media. Like, Melbourne's densely populated. There's a lot of people out. Once they got out of that alley, there was nobody about.
Yeah.
But the amount of interactions with opportunity for things to go wrong, they never do.
No.
Like, statistically, they never happen. And it's just this one thing, and it blows up on the news, and then it's us versus them, or them versus us, and we need to hate, and you're like, actually, come on, yes, the money's broken, but the people aren't broken. Like, let's fix the money. And
100%. And it is all about division. Every single thing that's on a news cycle is divisive.
Yeah.
They're not turning around and, it's that, back in the day, at the end of the news, they used to have a nice wee story at the end, dog getting rescued or something like that. They don't even do that, really. No. They don't even bother. It's just, grimness. And you find... I've always found in my life that people are inherently good. Yeah. And if you approach life that way, you can't go wrong. Yeah. And that's Bitcoin promotes that.
It does.
100%.
Yeah.
And look, as I said, I come from Northern Ireland. I grew up with division and all that there, and I watched what was going on here over the lockdowns, and it was like I'd seen the movie before, and what the people I was trying to say to friends that you don't want to do this, you don't want to have this division. I said, you don't realise how deep and how quickly that division can happen, and how long that can take to heal. Yeah. And but I give I give Australians a bye ball, because they've never really been in a situation like that. But I spoke to Somalian people and spoke to them, and they thought that everybody here was crazy about the way they were carrying on, because they'd come from places with division. So there's a lesson to be learned, but what horrifies me is that there hasn't been conversations about it, about what went wrong and what's going to happen the next time if something like that happens. They put it in the memory hole. Yeah. It's in a memory hole that the things that they did, putting concrete blocks in skate parks and turning park benches and playgrounds into a crime scene, with the tape all around it. I mean, and then taking the kids out of school. I mean, that's when I knew it was nearly all, like, the battle was over. When the parents didn't fight to keep their kids in school, and that there's big lessons to be learned through that there, but I've come out through the other side better for it, to be honest with you, because
It sort of worked on two ways. Like, I think people that took responsibility, and Bitcoin's like a huge thing. You're forced to take 100% responsibility. But even without Bitcoin, if you didn't find Bitcoin, but you chose to take 100% responsibility in your life, it is a great opportunity to be able to reflect, to be able to grow, to become a better person, to be able to change those things in your life that weren't working. But if you were caught up in the media lies, the narrative that was there, your life's probably harder now than it was beforehand. And like, who's to blame for that? Like I want to blame the government, but at the same time, because I took 100% self-responsibility, I know the government's not going to save us. There's going to be a time too. Like, I think they're just using that as a test to see how far they could push it. Like, the measures just got more and more extreme. They're like, oh, cool. Like, this is working. Like, what else can we try?
Yeah, well, that's it. It was like, hop on one leg, rub your belly. Yeah. You're allowed to drink a coffee, but you're not allowed to have a drink of alcohol in your hand. When you walk into a restaurant, you can walk in with the mask on, but when you sit down, you can take it off. Yeah. I thought they were having a laugh. Yeah. I didn't take part in any of that because I wasn't allowed in the restaurants. but they were having a laugh. Yeah. And then as you find out from the text messages that came out in the UK, they actually were having a laugh. The head of health there, he was caught on, turning around and going, that'll really put the shits up and things like, all these text messages that came out. And you realise that they were happening. Yeah. And
it's a big joke.
But hopefully we learn and are a bit wiser in the future.
Fingers crossed.
Well, what do you think there, Sean?
Man, that's awesome. I look like a very different person. I like it.
You'll still be able to tie that back and catch the waves and.
So that's before you allow me too much. I saw on your website you had something called snake oil.
Yes, I put it in your hair. Do
you just want to tell me about it? Because I grew up and somebody said, fucking never buy snake oil from a salesman.
That's it.
Yeah, and then I came into a bloody Bitcoin hairdresser and he's trying to sell bloody snake oil.
So this is where I can tell you exactly about the ethos, about the whole product range, which is, hair products, they're basically telling you a lot of lies. Do you know what I mean? Like there's certain big companies that have 147 different styling products, but you can't do 147 different things with your hair, And so what that starts off as with the boardroom and the shareholders, and then let's get to R&D, get them up here. We'll have to come up with something else. So the R&D lie to the board. The board lies to the sales reps. The sales reps lie to the shop owners. The salon owners lie to the hairdressers. The hairdressers lie to the client. And then the eventual lie is that person looking in the mirror, doing their hair, going, yes, that really works. And I just decide, no, every single product I have is simple and it's based on truth. Yeah. That's if you go to our website, that's what it says. Stop telling lies, And they're very simple. They do what they say. The snake oil is a big jab at those people who have been selling snake oil, and it's a lovely product, argan oil, which nourishes your hair. I mean, that's it. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not always the big sell. When you walk into a supermarket and you're buying a toothbrush. What the fuck are all those toothbrushes doing? I mean, they're all... you have to think about what one's got like a ridged back. You can do your tonsils with it or something, Same with the razors. Why don't they just come out with Mac 17 already? Yeah. They'll have to make the money. So it's a lie. They're lying to you. Whereas that's where, I thought that was a good alignment with the... with Bitcoin, my hair product being based in truth. Yeah. And that's why I contacted you. I thought maybe that would be something that you'd be into. And...
I definitely need to get some snake oil.
No problem. Well, I'll send you up a gift package because it's all online at the moment. I might have a wee bottle here for you.
Cool. And I guess for everyone watching it, this video may have got cut out halfway through. You'll see the first part of it was truly brilliant. But whereabouts are you in Melbourne?
I'm at Northcote, 17E Eastman Street. and come down with your Lightning wallets, no problem.
Cool.
Ready to go.
You'll see the nice Bitcoin sticker as you walk in on the window there, but it's hopefully we can get the other part there. If not, it's been a true pleasure.
Absolute pleasure, Sean. Really was a pleasure. Seriously, I mean that.
Yeah,
lovely.
Real awesome.
Lovely. There we go.
There's two things they'll never get from me: the Jag and the Bitcoin. That's it. It's one thing, it's like growing up in Belfast, the idea of owning a decent car, but also I didn't start driving until I was 40.
Wow.
Yeah, so I never needed to. I lived in London and Hong Kong, and then when I first came over here, I got my driver's license at 40, and then four-wheel drives. I've only ever driven four-wheel drives, and then after the lockdowns and all that there, I did a big, massive trip all down the Western Australia, across about 4 of the great Australian deserts, and on the way back home, I was like, I think I might have done my dash, coming across the Nullarbor. And
was that in the G-Wagon or?
Yeah, that was in the G-Wagon Professional, which wasn't, people hear G-Wagon and they think Kardashian G-Wagon, but this was the military spec one, so you could, there was plug holes in the front of it, you could hose it down, but it was amazing, it really was. But and after, obviously the car prices were crazy after COVID, and I was able to sell it for a bit of a profit after having it for 5 years. So and then I said, well, what would I want to get? And said I was looking at this or an Aston.
Yeah.
And they're both the DB9, and this is the design. There's another Jag there, look at that. That'll be me in about 40 years time. Okay. They're both designed by the same guy, Scottish guy.
Interesting.
And they looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
They don't look exactly the same, but like, put it this way, if I had came home with an Aston and said to Sheila, and said, she wouldn't have known the difference between the two of them. They're very similar cars, but I just thought to myself that this one would be, if anything goes wrong with an Aston, anything goes wrong with it, it's FU 10 grand, Whereas this, it's not, you're not going to, the servicing and all that there is not so bad.
Yeah, it only costs you $5 grand each time.
Well, look, I tell you what, for such a Jaguar Land Rover don't have the best reliability. I haven't had a problem with this at all, nothing.
Nice.
And I'm taking it for some good big runs, and but part of me is like, I should probably just sell it and buy Bitcoin. You know what I mean? I probably should.
Every Bitcoiner's thought, like, they look around and they're like, what can I sell?
Yeah.
How do I get more Bitcoin?
Yeah. And it's like as your man, there's a guy online, he turns around, you're not bullish enough. You need to try and get as much as you can, but then you have to enjoy your life as well. You can't become that obsessive about it. Well, you can do, but I am, but it's
I noticed, 4 years ago I had enough money for a plane, and not an extravagant aeroplane, but both Dad and Mum are pilots, and I've grown up with flying in my blood,
Oh, really?
And got my pilot's license and stuff, and I completed my pilot's license a couple of years before COVID.
Yes.
Saving up to buy an aeroplane, and COVID happens, and it had already been Bitcoin enough, and realised, oh no, like I need to buy more Bitcoin with that.
Yes.
And now I'm like, all right, like Bitcoin's going up a lot. We'll buy an aeroplane. I'm like, I need more Bitcoin at the moment.
But that's the good thing about it, isn't it? I think fiat currency encourages, flashness and Conor McGregor style antics, Floyd Mayweather style antics. Whereas Bitcoin I don't think does that.
No. I think life needs to be enjoyed, but now I know, like, my money's not going down over time, it's only going to go up.
Yes.
The plane's going to continually get cheaper, like it's already 10x
that's
cheaper. But wait another 4 years, like, is that plane like 100x cheaper?
Yeah. Well, definitely. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I mean, in fact, that's amazing that you've got your pilot's license.
Say again?
That's amazing. You've got your pilot's license.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Always been chasing freedom, and obviously with Dad and Mum both being pilots, I could sort of see that, but it just opens up another dimension to the world.
Yeah.
You know, you're in 3D space instead of this 2D plane.
Yeah.
Where we spend a lot of time.
Well, you know, Australia, it makes sense. You know, because as I said, I've been out in the outback quite a bit, and you know, you've got all those outback pubs that all have runways.
Yeah.
You know, and to go with your swag.
Yeah.
And sleep under the wing. I mean, there's something about that there, isn't there?
100%. And there's so many like beaches, like where I live, we drive on this beach, 18 kilometres long, and like it's a public road, so legally you're allowed to land an aeroplane there.
Yes.
As well, and there's some other beaches down here, and the aeroplane I'm looking at, it's not crazy expensive. You can get like bolt-on kits for to make an amphibian, so it's got retractable undercarriage floats, and obviously at the moment living near the island, so to be able to just chuck it on a trailer, like another kit to be able to fold the wings down.
Yeah.
But chuck it on a trailer, reverse it in like I do the jet ski currently, and then fly over to the islands for a snorkel and some lunch, you know, and then fly back and land on a grass runway or something like that, or go out to the pub, and you can take those off easy enough. It's
you know, the people back home in the UK or whatever, that, I mean, that just sounds, it would just sound like outlandish. But then when when you're in Australia and you're in those remote areas, you realise that's part of, that makes sense. It makes sense to have, you know, a helicopter or an airplane. You know, and when you're talking airplane as well, I didn't realise that there's all those like microlight planes and stuff you could get as well, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah, like those microlights, like they're cheap as chips. Like for 15 grand or something, you can get something, and it's recreational aviation, so it's going to cost you 15 grand for your recreational pilot's license. 30 grand, like whatever it is in life, if you work really hard and you're on a sound money standard, you should be able to have a house and one hobby.
Yes.
For a lot of people, they're going to spend that on a boat or yourself in a car. For me, it'll be an aeroplane.
Yes.
But why not? Like you were saying before, like this life, it's so short.
Yeah.
But I always felt like before Bitcoin, like everything was a race. Like I needed to have everything now. And now I can just breathe and be like, cool, like that's fine. Like let's just get more Bitcoin in the meantime, and it'll just keep playing out as it needs to be. And that Bitcoin I had for the airplane, or we still do, like I'm not going to use that on an airplane anymore. We're just saving in Bitcoin now. So as the purchasing power keeps increasing over time, 5% of the stack or 10% of the stack, like 100% of what we have now is in cold storage. But as we keep increasing our Bitcoin holdings, that 5 or 10% can be used for our lifestyle. And like, why not? We're both high income earners. There's no reason why you shouldn't have nice things that serve you, not to show off. Like that's it. Like yes, this car's cool and aeroplane's cool, but the car's for you, the aeroplane's for me. Like, I don't care if nobody else likes it or they don't agree. Oh, flying's dangerous. Okay, like, but it's my choice. Like, you know, you're more chance of hurting yourself walking down your stairs each day. But it doesn't matter. Like, I just don't care what anyone thinks about me for whatever reason. I'm doing the very best I can to pursue truth and to be honest share the Bitcoin message, which will make everyone's life better.
Look, also, you know, when you're, you know, programmed in school, you know, you're told that you're going to be nothing unless you get a, you know, the death grip, the mortgage, you know what I mean? And you know, you're programmed to that. This, you know, this car, you know, that proves that I'm doing well. You know, all those material things. I found out after COVID, right? I found out that all those things, because I was stripped of everything. And all those things are just masquerading as well-being. You know, and you know, I got divorced just before COVID, and you know, and very briefly ended up on, you know, some dating apps, which, you know, for me, I've been married for 14 years. That was like me coming out of a time machine and appearing with somebody who was completely, you know, I was so incorrect, as it were, you know, and, you know, and I would, you know, you'd meet these girls, and the conversation, you know, and you ask them, you know, what truly makes you happy? And not one of these girls had ever thought about that.
Wow.
You know, they all just, well, happiness is the most important thing, but what makes you bloody happy?
Yeah, that's right.
And you know, there's a very true thing that they say in the, you know, the American, I think it's the Constitution, they say that it's the pursuit of happiness is the enjoyment. You know, working out and thinking about what does actually make you happy.
Yeah.
And, you know, Bitcoin kind of shows you that there, that, you know, it's being in control of yourself and being in a position where you're not chasing your own tail constantly.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they will, you know, they can dispossess you at any given time in many different ways.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's control of whatever that is. Your money, your finances, what you eat, how you interact, what you buy.
Yes.
But in whatever way, I think that leads to happiness or joy. When we've got 100% control, which unfortunately a lot of people don't like, they need to take 100% self-responsibility to achieve. But if they are willing to do what is hard, then their life will be easier. But if they're not willing to do those hard things, their life's going to continue to be hard if they keep choosing the easy option.
Well, that was very shocking to me, you know, over the lockdowns, because I couldn't believe how much people, you know, openly. I've made a decision to trust my government. I've made the decision to do that, you know, and they want to relinquish 100%, you know, responsibility to the government. And those people are there, you know, they actually exist, and especially in the Communist Republic of Northcote here, you know, they really loved it. You know, the amount of people you'd see shouting, you know, put your mask on. Oh, all right, see you. You know, put your mask on. You know, you're doing this and doing that, and cops being called I mean, it just was relentless, and those people, you know, love being looked after in under the womb, and you think to yourself, how's that? No wonder they're not interested in Bitcoin.
Yeah, 100%. The saddest thing about that is, like, they give their faith. They're like, all right, like, I'll trust the government and the government will look after me. Mm-hmm. But they're giving that away in blind faith. The government isn't coming to save anyone. Like, it's just so made up. It's so fake. And they're like, yeah, they will, you know, with hospitals and the roads. And that's why we pay all our taxes. I get all that. And, oh, yes, we've got our super, like, unperformed Bitcoin, majorly.
Yes.
But the government's talking about using super money to spend on military spending.
Yes.
Like, they see there's $3.7 trillion, I think, our Australian superannuation fund is there. And they're actively already programming the population that they're going to take it. Mm-hmm. And maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe Australians actually stand up for once and be like, no, fucking enough is enough. But COVID showed us that they won't.
Yeah.
They're like, no, the government's going to do what the government's going to do. They're going to look after us. Super's going to be there. They're not going to take it. They're not going to get rid of cash. They're not bringing in digital IDs. They're not bringing CBDCs. Maybe they're not. But what if they are? Like, and you haven't done anything to take 100% self-responsibility, and you're in this 15-minute city, your little dog box.
Too late.
It's too late. Like, and the government says, oh, we changed our mind, we were going to look after you, and we'll still look after you, but it's our rules. Like, it's our house, it's our rules. That's not for me. I'd rather...
Well, I heard this week that they were talking about that they're going to be taxing your super, and then all the, you know, of course, all the government workers turned around and said, oh, all of a sudden they threw their hands up, but now they're trying to push it through that, yes, the super is taxable. You know, when you put money into your super, it's taxable, but not for government workers.
Yeah.
Now, how the hell do they think they're going to get away with that? You know.
Yeah.
and they are going to try and do things like that. So, listen, you know, there's a saying back in Belfast. You know, you lay your own turds. You know, look after yourself. You know, because really, if you're expecting anybody else to do it for you, you're dreaming. You know, you're absolutely dreaming. And you know, there's a lot of people in this town here, especially in this area we were driving through, who haven't come to terms yet with what they became, you know, and they turned that fear switch on. You'll still see them. You drive down here, you know, older women walking down with their masks on.
Seeing young people today wearing masks.
Like, you know, that is, the spigot of fear was turned on.
Just real quick, 639.
There we go. Now that's a whole big conversation I'm into, talking about, you know, the fact that we didn't invent maths, we discovered maths, and it's in the universe. And then your man Giovanni talking about the power law. Now that's a whole different kettle. That's fascinating to me. You know, just to understand that that's following that. You know. But there's a lot of stuff. I think there's there's a biblical side to it as well. Which is interesting because of, you know, the way that, you know, the way that the universe works, and, you know, how that might be. There might have been a creator. You know, that conversation lies in with Satoshi himself. You know, the creator, the elusive creator that's disappeared. Or is he still there? You know, that's the interest. There's interesting lines you can draw to that.
Somebody put a comment on a video a couple of days ago. It was probably on the Eric Kaysen video. And just as you're saying that, I'm like, I wish Eric Kaysen was in the back seat. Because when we caught up in Sydney, he was talking about how messianic Bitcoin is.
Yes.
And Bitcoin may be the thing that realigns Christianity and Islam together again, because it is the first halal money. It's the first money without usury. It's and Eric goes into it way deeper. But what this person had commented was, I've been in Bitcoin for 10 years, just stack and chill. And he said, some people might call me crazy, but I think Satoshi doesn't actually exist, and he never existed now. He was from the future and he came back. And I'm like, that's interesting. He's like, everyone calls me crazy, but what if I'm true?
Yes.
What if he is? Like, that's so far outside my beliefs and conception of the world that I can't see it's true. But I'm happy to entertain that idea. Because Bitcoin was this like impossible thing that came at the exact right time. 2008, 2009 financial crisis, and then through COVID and everything else we've seen. Without Bitcoin, what we were saying before, the video that got cut short, is like Bitcoin is hope. It is that better future, and it's life raft. It's the solution.
Yes.
How it came about, like freaking genius. Maybe it was just the cypherpunks and stuff that did it. Maybe it was insightful. Maybe it was someone that's just tapped into the global consciousness, and that idea was ready to be born in Satoshi, whoever they are. Like, thanks for bringing it here and just listening.
At the end of the day, whether whoever, I don't care, whoever, it's following the laws of the universe. And, you know, look, I'll tell you this. I was never religious, right? As an atheist, I used to love watching Richard Dawkins and, you know, Sam Harris, you know, slaughter a priest or slaughter a mufti, you know. But it wasn't until I saw them having a debate with a man of faith and science, and his name is John Lennox, and, you know, he turned my thinking around on this, which was that, you know, that science itself at the moment is doing a good job of actually, you know, the whole Darwinian theory, you know, it's not really holding up as strong as it was. And, you know, the fact that there's, you know, like basically digital code in our cells, you know, and poor Darwin himself didn't have the, you know, the knowledge to know. He just thought it was a cell wall, a load of mush and a nucleus. You know what I mean? And we now know that there's like basically code in there, and that is, you know, the alignment between those sorts of things, and then you realize what, you know, Bitcoin is, and, you know, whether it is a loose, a loose, you know, connection to draw. It's still fascinating. You know, and it depends how deep you can think about it. You can think about it as deep as you want or as little as you want. But at the same time, it's the most fascinating subject that I've got into, and it's led me out onto different topics, and I went from atheist to agnostic, and doing a load of doing my heroic doses of mushrooms, and basically coming out with believing that there's definitely a creator,
Yeah.
and but I would never force that down anybody's throat.
Yeah.
But it's certainly a path that I never thought I would go down, and I would believe that Bitcoin helped me along with that as well. So look, isn't it? It is fascinating. Like it really is good. I'm enthusiastic about it, and but that's why I looked at your podcast and seen your enthusiasm, and and that's why I reached out. And that's it.
It's been such a pleasure. Hopefully we can discover that first part of the podcast, but we will roll into the second one now. There's going to be a little bit of a jump cut, and it's going to change it a little bit.
It might be interesting.
But yeah, it truly was that last part. But I guess the biggest message for people is just study the hell out of Bitcoin. It makes your life better in every way, and enjoy the finer things in life, but don't live in that spoilt mentality of wanting everything now. You can have anything you ever wanted, but do the hard things straight away.
Yep. Brother,
let's roll.
Pleasure meeting you.
Real pleasure.
Real pleasure.
Part 2.
All the best.